Hi, I'm Kaizen Ven Tari. I play a thief on the Aurora Glade server. In this video I'll take you through some 1v1s and a couple of outnumbered fights. I hope you enjoy. First up, I take on a condition engineer. I open up with a steel and a cloak and dagger. I use sneak attack. I then use infiltrator's signet to close the gap and maintain damage pressure. Shadow step to my enemy, shadow strike, he pulls me in, I use shadow return to reposition and go into stealth. I immediately open with sneak attack to put more bleed stacks on my enemy, changes his weapon kit and goes defensive. I steal up, get a cloak and dagger on one of the mobs, use sneak attack to apply more bleeding stacks onto him. He runs away and goes down in the distance. I use my signet to close the gap, get a quick cloak and dagger, and I'm able to get the stomp. Next up, I take on a thief who immediately opens on me with his signet of shadows. He shadow steps up to me, uses basilisk venom and gets big damage into me. I evade, use my heal, shadow step away, decide to use my refuge to reset the fight. If you take a lot of burst damage in the early stages of a fight, Shadow Refuge is a great ability to reset the fight. I apply my basilisk venom. As I fire, he goes into stealth. He reopens on me. I evade, get a nice cloak and dagger. And again, as I fire, he goes into stealth with the Shadow Refuge. I switch to my defensive weapon set, anticipating him to engage me as I move away. As he opens up on me, I fire black powder and I go into stealth. I then use my heal, decide to reset and reposition myself at the top of the hill. He's an intelligent player and stealths on the mob. Again he stealths on the mob, so I cloak and dagger on the mob to get the stealth uptime on him. I open up with sneak attack, get a nice shadow strike in. He goes into stealth and I end up wasting my steel on the mob. He shadow steps away, so I shadow step to him. He gets me with the basilisk venom, so I'm forced to shadow return and heal up. He opens on me, I evade, I accidentally cast Shadow Refuge. I roll into my refuge, I steal up to him, I get a shadow strike, and then I waste my stolen ability. Too many mistakes at the moment from my side. He casts Shadow Refuge and now I'm in trouble because he's got the stealth uptime on me. I switch to my defensive weapon set, as black powder is a great ability to mitigate potential incoming damage. He engages on me, I quickly stealth, try and open on him with sneak attack, but he goes into stealth and I end up shooting the mob. I heal up, evade away, get a sneak attack, get up close, manage to get a shadow strike off. His health is really low at this stage and he's forced to use his heal. Cloak on the mob just to get some stealth uptime. He re-engages, gets good damage into me, blinds me at the same time. I shadow step away, evade, attempt to cloak and dagger, although I was blinded in any way, and I'm forced to use my Shadow Refuge. I open with sneak attack. I get a nice shadow strike off, I steal up to him. He gets me with the basilisk venom, but the conditions bring him down, and I finally manage to get the stomp. I end with a bow to pay my respects to a very good player. In the next fight I come across a warrior and a guardian that are about to take out someone from my realm. I put as much pressure on the warrior as I can and just want to get a lot of conditions on him in a short space of time. I get the warrior's health really low, but then have to turn my attention on the fallen player just to try and get a quick revive. I get the player up. He decides he's had enough and he's going to have no further part in this fight. I find myself in a tough position and have to shadow step away. I heal up, want to keep focus on the warrior, so I open with sneak attack. I steal up to him, As he charges to me, he goes down from the conditions. I get a quick cloak and dagger. I'm about to go for the stomp and I realize that the guardian is going to get him up. So I decide to see how tanky this guardian is. Find myself in a tough position, so I switch weapon sets and use black powder to mitigate some of the damage. I stealth up. My utilities are on cooldown, so I just need to buy a bit more time. Use black powder again. Their attacks miss. I stealth up, get ready to switch weapon sets so that I can re-engage. I steal up to the guardian, get a quick shadow strike, heal up, open on the guardian with sneak attack. I'm too early on my cloak and dagger and I find myself in melee range of both players, so I have to evade, taking a lot of damage, so I decide to shadow step away. As they come for me, I use shadow return followed by shadow refuge. I apply my basilisk venom, open on the guardian, shadow strike him, run in, get another quick shadow strike. The second warrior joins the fight and I decide it's time to leave as I don't have enough stun breaks to deal with another warrior. I'm gonna have to call this one a draw. Next up, I'm attacked by a prismatic understanding mesmer. I stealth up so that I can close ground safely. I stealth up again so that I can have some time to differentiate between him and his clones. I'm not in a great position because I don't know where he is and I'm surrounded by clones and very susceptible to mind rack. He then gets huge damage into me, so I'm forced to heal up. I cloak and dagger on his phantasm and decide to use shadow refuge to reset the fight. Being in stealth has allowed me to spot the real enemy. I apply my basilisk venom and slowly move in. I open with sneak attack, steal up to him, he blinks away and for a moment I've lost sight of where he is, so I use the stolen ability to get all the boons. I shadow step to him, get a quick shadow strike in, miss my cloak and dagger, so I use body shot to immobilize him and he goes down from the conditions. I stealth up, wait for him to reappear and then complete the stomp. In the next fight I take on a greatsword hammer warrior. I open with the steel and a cloak and dagger, followed by sneak attack, run in, get a quick shadow strike, clear the stolen ability while I have the chance. He comes at me with hammer shock, I evade, get a quick shadow strike, cloak and dagger on the mob, use sneak attack, I roll in between the two mobs, miss my first cloak and dagger, get it the second time around. Open again with sneak attack, steal up, get another cloak and dagger. I just keep applying the pressure on him, get another shadow strike, cloak and dagger, more bleed stacks. I clear the stolen ability, use my signet to get another cloak and dagger, shadow strike him. I just kind of keep kiting him from a distance, putting more bleed stacks on. Get another cloak and dagger. Shadow strike. I now make a critical error and I get too much damage into the mob. As I'm going for the stomp, he manages to get the rally milliseconds before I can complete it. He gets me with his hammer shock, switches to his greatsword, gets 100 blades into me. For the first time in the fight I'm forced to heal up. I shadow step away to give myself some room, steal up to him, miss a couple of my shadow strikes, eventually get one off. I then get another cloak and dagger, he goes down, I put some more bleed stacks on him, clear the stolen ability, and I now move in, get a cloak and dagger, and I'm able to complete the stomp. In the next fight I have a little help from a player from my realm. Thanks a lot to Spirion, I really enjoyed our brief roaming session. The fight starts off with myself and my ally taking on a warrior and an elementalist. We get the elementalist down, the warrior goes for the revive, and I just put a lot of conditions on the warrior while he's going for the revive. He does, however, get the elementalist up, but he himself then goes down. I move in, get the cloak and dagger, and I'm able to complete the stomp. Another warrior is now joined and he's come to help the elementalist. My ally goes down. I heal up, shadow step to him, use my shadow refuge to try and get a revive. The elementalist is doing a good job though at putting a lot of AoE down and getting damage into my ally. I try and go for the revive only to realize that he's fully down. I apply my Basilisk Venom, open on the warrior, get a shadow strike. I then use my signet to get a cloak and dagger on the warrior. All my utilities are on cooldown, so I switch to my defensive weapon set and use black powder and stealth up. I use my heal. The warrior runs off into the camp. The elementalist stays behind to revive the first warrior. I try and get some damage into him, but I see in the distance now that the warrior has returned and another elementalist has joined this fight. The elementalist gets good damage into me, so I shadow step away. I use my signet to get a cloak and dagger on the warrior. I open on the warrior with sneak attack, use my shadow return to reposition myself, miss my cloak and dagger. I use my refuge now, but I slightly misplace it, so I can't get the stomp immediately. I run over to the warrior and I manage to get the stomp before he's revived. I put my attention on the elementalist now. I get the cloak and dagger. He teleports away and I try and get damage into him, but he's out of range. I use my signet to close ground, get a quick shadow strike off. I evade some of their attacks. I get knocked down though. Switch weapon sets, use black powder. I'm forced to heal up. I'm thinking about going for the stomp on the elementalist, but I deem that it's just too risky, so I decide to withdraw a little. I see that my enemies have pulled back and gone into the camp, so I decide it's a great time to revive my ally. As I start the revive, I realize that I'm going to have to dispatch of the sentry first. Within seconds of opening on the sentry, the warrior that I had previously stomped is back and he's looking for revenge. I get a shadow strike, then immediately use my signet to get close enough for a second shadow strike. I see that he's using Berserker stance, so I can't get any conditions on him. I shadow step away, then use my shadow refuge. As soon as I have the full stealth from my shadow refuge, I use my shadow return to throw them off of my positioning. If I was a smart player, I would have just decided to call it a day and withdraw from this fight, but I can be stubborn sometimes, and I decide let me just see what I can do and have a bit of fun with these guys. So I steal up, cloak and dagger on the warrior, I get him with my Basilisk Venom, then get a shadow strike in, I use my signet, then another shadow strike. I use the stolen ability to try and reflect their projectiles. I heal up and I evade. I attempt a cloak and dagger on the elementalist, but I miss and I was blinded in any way. I then cloak and dagger on the mob. I shadow step away just to get some distance between me and my enemies. The warrior chases me and I use my shadow return just to throw him off. As soon as my shadow refuge comes off cooldown, I cast it. I apply my Basilisk Venom and I look for an opportunity to open up on the enemies again. I decide that the elementalist might be my best bet, so I open on him, get a shadow strike. I steal up and try and go for the cloak and dagger, but he's got his arcane shield up and it blocks my attack. I use my signet to get up close, get a shadow strike, and then knock down. I evade out of some of the attacks, shadow step away, use my heal. I've now completely frustrated the enemy as they just cannot seem to get me down. They actually land up withdrawing from this fight and it ends in a draw. The next fight starts as a group skirmish but ends up with me in a battle against 4 other players. I open with some basic auto attacks and just try and keep my distance from the enemy. I then find myself right in the middle of the battle and I'm taking a lot of damage. Somehow I come out alive though, so I run off just to heal up. I wait for my Shadow Refuge to come off cooldown, then I try and revive the fallen player. The enemy sees my Shadow Refuge and comes and puts a lot of damage into me. I try and stick it out, but quickly realize that if I stay any longer, I'm going to go down myself, so I shadow step away. I target the warrior, get a steal and a cloak and dagger, then engage with sneak attack. I get knocked down, so I use my signet to get close, then get a shadow strike in. I use my heal so I can get some stealth because I'm looking to use sneak attack and get more bleeds onto him. But then a player comes past and while I'm clearing the stolen ability, I clip him and it takes me out of stealth. I'm now in a lot of trouble surrounded by enemies, so I just stay patient and cloak and dagger on one of the warriors. I steal up to the warrior, miss my cloak and dagger, so I have to use my Shadow Refuge. I heal up, try and clear the stolen ability, and in the process I clip one of the players again, revealing me. They stun me, so I have to shadow step away. The enemy is now chasing me down, so I use my Shadow Return to try and throw them off on my position. My auto stealth triggers, so when I use my steel and cloak and dagger, it actually ends up revealing me. I'm forced to switch to my defensive weapon set just to get some stealth uptime. I open on the Necromancer with sneak attack. I then try and do a steel and a cloak and dagger, but it doesn't work. The warrior gets me with hammer shock. I then get stunned and have to use my signet. As my Shadow Refuge comes off cooldown, I cast it, and I sit tight hoping that I'm going to survive. When I get to full stealth from my Shadow Refuge, I use my Shadow Step. I clear the stolen ability, then open up on the Necromancer. I steal then cloak and dagger on the warrior, get him with sneak attack. The thief opens up on me and gets good damage into me. I manage to survive and heal up, and then I come to my senses and decide to call it a day. In my final fight, I take on a conditioned warrior. I steal up and cloak and dagger, get him with sneak attack. I get in close and get the shadow strike. I use the stolen ability to reflect his projectiles. I then use my signet to get in close and get a shadow strike. My health is pretty low though, so I have to heal up and shadow step away. I open on him with sneak attack. I then use Shadow Return to reposition myself. I get the cloak and dagger, apply more bleed stacks to him, get in close, get the shadow strike. I use the stolen ability to reflect his projectiles. He goes down. The Guardian is coming in for the revive, but I manage to get the stomp. I speed up the video as I easily dispatch of a very tanky Guardian. I get the Guardian down, cloak and dagger, shadow step away, and then Shadow Return to complete the stomp. I'm Kaizen Ven Tari, thank you for watching.